We'll call the meeting to order, and all rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Forgot there was a step there. Item B is the citizens' comments. Are there any citizens to be heard?
Good afternoon, board members, solicitor. My name is Donald Crenshaw, and I come to say I think we're making some good progress in our community. Even though today he has on a white shirt, dressed for the office, I ran into Mr. Snipper this past week, and he was out in the field shoveling, working, helping to beautify the community. And I want to say, Aaron, good job. You were out there, you're making things happen. And with that being said, I'd like for all of us to just think about what I heard in church here this past Sunday, one of the services I attended. There's it, which is whatever it is, the problem. Then there's you, and then there's me. We as a people have to be able to address it, agree to disagree on different things, but you're still you, I'm still me, and we should still love each other. At the end of the day, we live in a very challenged time, and when we look at especially what I mentioned Aaron was trying to do, fix up houses, clean up, beautify a neighborhood, there's challenges. I sent all of you an email of 2708 Downing. People keep dumping garbage there. The prior owner had it. They dumped garbage there. He tried to clean it up. But keeping everything positive, if you would look at that piece of property, it does need cleaning up. And as Aaron and I discussed, through that entire area, as fast as we clean up a spot, somebody goes and dumps on it. The new ordinance that the city's established, $1,400 if there's garbage in front of your place. That goes on your water bill, which now means if it doesn't get paid, the water gets shut off, and the person that put the garbage here originally now doesn't have a place to stay, and it just compounds. And as him and I talked about, there used to be, I think, an unlimited garbage pickup, and there may be still. But what happened is I got cited on a piece of property. The neighbors had put all the garbage out. I was given 2 days to clean it up, or I was going to get charged $1,400. And if I didn't clean up, it was going on my bill. The city, and you need to work with the city to the best of our ability, to have an unlimited garbage pickup so that it's not being thrown around to different people. If I recall, it was unlimited. You put your garbage out. If it's more than 3 large items, you call, they pick it up. But right now with the new ordinance, you're going to see a lot of your lots becoming dump sites because my lots are becoming dump sites. And whenever you have a piece of property, just as 2708 Downing, you clean it up tomorrow, it's probably going to get dumped right there again because if somebody's going to get fined $1,400, you can ride by at night. Literally, my office is between there and 1 block. I go by there every day. Somebody dumped another load of garbage this past week on my property. So I got to clean it up. It is what it is. So I just would like to share that. We're trying to do a good job. 2321 Cameron, you guys have bought that. You're fixing it up. You're right in the neighborhood. We built over 50 houses in that neighborhood. So there's good things happening. But also, if you go by 2708 Downing, look, it's zoned light commercial. The individual that bought it is working a lumber mill, basically, site there now. If you just go there and look, you'll be like, wow, it is what it is. That being said, I'd like to move on to the next item of us and working together. Back on January 25th, October 9th of last year, I sent an email out from GMA, which is a LLC that I'm a member of, that offered to take down that building, because originally it was to take down, go by there every day. We would tear the building down for half the cost that was proposed to tear it down. We'd level the site, and we would develop it. We still are developing 20-something houses in the neighborhood. With the federal government, everything being what it is, it's gotten really challenging, but we're still moving forward, and I see that happening. I think it was an email that was sent out by Ethan asking that I stop communicating with the board and that Aaron and I had differences. We do have differences, but I am a citizen. I bring this to you today to say, let's work together. As we work together in fixing up houses, which I've been doing for 35 plus years, we're continuing to do. And I know Aaron's not going to come here and say what a great job he did at 23, 21 Cameron, but he did. And that's why I'm here to say on that behalf, he's doing a good job, Aaron. He also helped one of the neighbors start a lawnmower. He was out there, the grass was high. He's trying. We're all trying. And we have differences. But let's look at the difference and not at each other and say it's you, me, we're the problem. The problem's the problem. So when you look at this, I'm going to also ask that the board recognize that the intent of me coming here was not to circumvent maybe a difference that Aaron and I may have, or I and Eugene may have. It was just to say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different thoughts on matters. So when I bring them to you, you get them from, as they say, the horse's mouth. This is my thought. It may not be articulated in a manner that's acceptable in writing. So that's why I come here. So I'll also communicate and ask questions. But one of the things I say to the redevelopment board, as in also there's members that's on the land board. There's also members that's on the blight board. And it's a challenge when an individual as a citizen is dealing with the challenges that now you're dealing with, owning properties and people dumping on them. We got to work better together. So I just say to all of you that I'm here to continue to try to keep properties built decent, kept up, so a low to mod income people can take on home ownership, as well as having a decent place to park their heads and raise their kids. So that's where I'm at today. I thank the board for listening to me. And at any time, it doesn't have to be through a council. It can be us and somebody as a citizen. I built 25 houses in that neighborhood for home ownership. 8 of them were 50% below medium. We're probably one of the better, I won't say better, one of the most knowledgeable developer builders in the Erie area. And again, Aaron and I may see a little different, but one thing for sure, I saw him. His actions speak as loud as his words. When he was out there shoveling and edging the sidewalk and fixing up the house so it can be sold. Hopefully it's sold to low to mod income, because that's what's mainly in the area. And as we go forward, I'm here to work with you to the best of our ability. There's other things that we won't talk about because of the situation they're in, but I will say this, my goal is still always the same, to create affordable housing, and at the same time as create, we do our job training and try to give individuals an opportunity to learn the skills while they're fixing up the houses. So with that, is there any questions of anyone? No questions? I thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens to be heard?
Johnny, your cell's here. Good afternoon, Kathy Schaff. Thank you for all you do. I just have a question. So on the website, it has properties that are vacant that people can apply for. And do you have like a set amount for the property that you would like to get an income from? Like, it's not repository sales where it's like a set $275 or whatever it is. Can you answer that?
I'll defer to Mr. Snippert.
Right, so as the redevelopment authority, no, there is no minimum price set in any policies and procedures, because certainly we want an adjoining property owner to get a property. Now, if it is a standalone vacant lot and it's an individual that has no adjoining property, then we'll look at that proposal as a need for development, and they would have to fall under a development agreement on that property.
Okay.
So now the land bank, the policies and procedures set the minimum price at $500. So as far as the authority, if it's an adjoining property owner that wants to acquire it as a side lot, we will accept an offer on that property.
Okay, so if there is just like a property that is all by itself, you don't want someone to purchase it just to relax and have property. You want development on it?
Yes, we don't want somebody essentially land holding. We want to focus on the private purchase of non-congruent property for development purposes. We've been burnt in the past as far as conveying properties, vacant lots and large chunks of vacant lots to individuals who mentioned the potential for development, and now those lots some of those are blighted, and some of those are just overgrown and left,
Right.
so that there's still an issue for the neighborhood.
And there's a lot on here, so those are all up to date. So thank you very much. Last year, there was like a concern sometimes with the mowing. Did you happen to get more people interested in mowing this year for you?
We got, what did we get, 8 proposals for mowing? We got a substantial response to our mowing. We do have a new lawn care company this year as opposed to last year's. Last year there was some issues with the lawn care company that we did have. I think it was just the vast amount as far as that goes. But we have worked with, we were splitting some of it off. Groundwork Erie is taking on some of the area in the East Bayfront Greenway Trail area, and they're kind of stewarding those lots for the authority as we work through that project. And other than that, the rest of those between the land bank and the authority are contracted with a lawn care company.
I really appreciate you being able to answer. Thank you very, very much. Have a great day. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Any other citizens to be heard? Hearing none, we'll go on to item 2 of the agenda. I do have a change of the agenda. I would like to move item C number 2 up before C number 1. Just change the order. I should have caught that. Forgive me, Cynthia. You asked me to look at it, and I missed it. I apologize. So any other that? Is there a motion to accept the agenda and approve the minutes, the consent agenda? We're going to do some heavy lifting today with the 3 of us here. So
I'll move.
Is there a second? Great. Thank you so much. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Very good.
Aye.
Thank you, Ethan. We're trying to keep an eye out for you. I just want, with respect to the bylaws, I asked Aaron to consider just a kind of a review of, it's more of an organizational management overview. And I'd hoped to squeeze a meeting in, and that was not going to work last week. So maybe we could schedule something between now and the next 4 weeks, the next meeting, just to do a reevaluation of each of our roles to see if people want to switch seats in the bus. I already announced that I won't be I'll end my term as chair in August, so we should probably be thinking about what that looks like. And later on in the agenda, we have some other appointments to make as well. So it's just an opportunity to do an internal reevaluation. Frequently, nonprofit boards, I know this is not a nonprofit, but it acts a little bit like one, will frequently do an assessment at least once a year or every other year then, and look at bylaws, look at the board membership, look at the satisfaction and engagement of the board members to see how we could do better to support the staff who are working very hard these days. So that's really kind of my comment of that. Maybe Aaron has any other comments on it. I appreciate the memos that you put together, very helpful to give history. I've been here for a little over 4 years, and sometimes things fall out of my head. The other thing that I came to realize is I get organization merge. I get the redevelopment authority and the land bank kind of mixed up sometimes, because the topics are so similar. So I may have misstated something over the years, and So that's what can happen sometimes.
Right, yeah, no, and so, yeah, the resolution that was there, and it was just, to your question, how the bylaws were structured and who, as you mentioned, Mr. Nelson is the signatory for the Redevelopment Authority Board. He's the secretary. Typically, it's the treasurer. And so, through that review, certainly the memo details that it was really always left up to, and looking back, that the board would choose whichever member it felt had the best availability for coming in and signing checks. Yeah. That was something we certainly, as the authority, we never wanted to blur. We want a board member to sign the checks along with an authority staff member. So the board member signs, and as executive director, I sign the checks. That way, April has the freedom to cut the checks. And this was all structured when we only had one finance individual. With two now, in an emergency situation, Corey can cut a check, April can sign it, and I can sign it. We use that only for emergency purposes. But, the bylaws do have in there, it was really the authority bylaws were created off of the urban redevelopment law and the creation of the authorities, and kind of outlined that essentially a redevelopment authority can operate as a board-only structure with a management agreement, kind of in the same way as the land bank operates as a board-only structure with a management agreement with the authority. So, but it is in there as, the treasurer does have the ability to review the finance reports and such. And so really when you look at like our audit from the land bank, as Mr. Scalise is familiar with some of those, the policies that we're going to work on there and some of the things, every time we have an audit, they always bring up different things, and there's processes and procedures within the authority that we do for checks and balances, that I approve the credit card statements, I sign the checks, so I review those things, and just those segregation of duties as far as the finance part of it goes. So I did provide the resolution, and it's something that we've always done whenever there's a change in the financial, the director of finance and administration within the authority, that gives the director of finance the authorization to facilitate basically the finance aspects of the authority without the treasurer's direct oversight. Now, there is the board and the treasurer's oversight on that part of it, but April has the authorization to facilitate her duties without that kind of direct, same as in the reference to the executive director's resolution. So, however, there was some things that weren't really in there, so I provided kind of a revised resolution that would amend and replace the existing resolution that just kind of clears up and adds a few things as far as the financial reports and things like that. So that's there. I didn't put it on the agenda as a resolution, but it is an actionable item if the board wanted to take action. But it's something that we can continue to leave out there as the board would like to review it. So,
and I would like to table it until next meeting, but plan a special meeting, even if it requires public notice and so on, just to kind of talk through so we can get everyone's input. One item I'm going to suggest is that we put a lifespan on the resolution, that's once every 3 years, once every 5 years, or so that it doesn't run indefinitely. It causes our successors to review work that was done and kind of brings things current. So these are some ideas I have. I'd just like to get everyone's input. It's hard to gather us all up, I know, because of schedules and these pesky day jobs that we have. But I think it's important for the authority to provide good governance while supporting the staff. My other question, and I haven't had a chance to call Mr. Sundberg, but I was wondering, I'm not sure what your contractual relationship is to the authority, but are you able to and or willing to serve also not as in addition to a real estate attorney, but also to just provide some counsel, more of a counselor and less of an attorney in terms of best practices and
yes,
so on. So
it would be my pleasure to attend and help facilitate that process. Absolutely.
yeah. Okay, great. So let's plan on getting together within the next couple weeks, sometime before next month, before our June meeting, if that's possible. This is May, right? Before June.
So I guess for clarification and reference to my email, are we meeting for the purpose, are we meeting an open meeting or are we meeting an executive session?
Either's fine with me.
Okay.
I mean, it's...
Unless, I guess it's a matter of, is it personnel related or is it related to bylaw discussion and
It's
finance?
operational. It's
Okay,
operational.
so we can
Like you
schedule
said, just review internal controls, talk through. I'd like to ask all members to see if they wanted to take on a different role. Does Ethan want to become secretary? Mr. Nelson become, treasurer, whatever, convenience, and, it's just good to check in with everybody, because I don't know that we've ever really done that. We just kind of rolled along, and I apologize, I should be providing better oversight and leadership on that matter. Yeah, because I term out next March, so I'm trying to get things that, catch up on some of the work that I should have been doing so I can provide better leadership, so when I'm gone, maybe I've made a difference here before I leave.
In terms of the latest set of bylaws, was it the February 2016? I think that's the version that I have. I don't know if there's anything more recent than that.
No, I think that's the most recent.
Okay.
We had discussed mid last year in going back and reviewing the bylaws, because there
Right.
is some stuff in there as far as, just bringing it into age, because that is pre-COVID. There is not anything in there as far as the ability for email communication or an email vote. So there's just some best practices that we could revise into our bylaws, so
Okay.
that's there too, so.
Yeah, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then just circulating a copy of those bylaws to all the board members just to make sure that they have them at the ready.
Yeah, and I'm remembering through some training I've received through the nonprofit partnership is that I think best practice is every 3 to 5 years you look at your bylaws. So I think we're well overdue for that then. So
Yeah.
that'll be a good step in the right direction, I think. Then there will also be an opportunity for all of us to kind of weigh in and feel that we're contributing along the way. So those are really my comments. So if there's no questions on that particular topic, we'll turn it over to whoever's giving the finance report.
Thank you. So in your packet, first was the balance sheet, and as of April 30th, it was showing we had $246,515.78 in the race checking. The page after that is the profit and loss. It was showing grant revenue of $437,159.73 from January through April. For the month of April, that included the ARPA East Bayfront Greenway Trail project request of about $50,000. A little lower down, it shows service revenue, which included 3 whole home repair project reimbursements from the Erie County Department of Planning for about $69,000. And then on the back of that portion, it was showing that our our net revenue is negative $74,333.01, which is accurate, but we do have upcoming reimbursements that are including the land bank for $60,000, an LHRD request for about $60,000, and then $42,000 more from the Erie County Department of Planning for Act 137 projects. The packet after that is the list of the check details, so all of the checks that were dispersed for April, there were quite a few there. And then the copy of the bank reconciliation report for the month of April.
I have a question.
Sure.
I apologize, I don't have the statements in front of me. I am driving right now. But did we receive the interest payment from the Erie County Redevelopment Authority? I believe that was due in April.
I'm so proud of you. Yes, we did.
Excellent. That's the only question I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan. And I thank you for the detail on the RENXT project. It looks like there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, you want to, okay, you want me to, okay. All right, well, just 2 comments, while you have the finance reports before you accept them. One, as April mentions about how we're waiting on those reimbursement expenses. And so through April's stewardship, that's something the authority has never been able to do. So in the past, for the history of my tenure at the authority, we would put a lock straw into HUD every 2 weeks to fund the operations of the authority and pay the contractors. But I asked April this morning when the last time was we put in a lock straw, and we typically do it about every 2 to 3 months now because we have the operating capital there to front load and pay our contractors as quickly as possible and then go back for reimbursement, which is really the way it's supposed to do. We're not we kind of always, skirted that line of using one funding, using funding, loaning it to ourselves, paying and then reimbursing ourselves. And so we've been able to do that. But then onto the FE, right, the Financial Edge NXT, which we met with Matt this morning. Great conversation. I think it went extremely well. Corey and April were greatly relieved after the meeting, as was I, with his just the way he approached it. I forwarded the board that one pager from Bob from Capital Solutions last week. Matt hit the ground right there this morning with that sheet, walked through it all. Really, we're at the point is he's going to go back through. He's going to reconcile a lot of the stuff that was in there. He found a few issues as we were working through the hour-and-a-half meeting this morning that he's going to go back on their end, make sure that was inputted properly. What's going to happen is, so he's going to go back in and clean up a lot of stuff. June 1st is going to be our go-live date. He's going to reconcile and input the general ledger up to June 1st. Of this year. So QuickBooks, April and Corey are going to continue to utilize QuickBooks up until the last day of May. And then on June 1st, they're going to start using Blackbaud Financial Edge NXT. With that, they're going to upload the GL up to April 30th and then wait for May. So when they start using Financial Edge on June 1st, they'll be working off of May 30th general ledger amounts. It won't be until probably mid-June that they'll be able to upload the general ledger from May, which will then reconcile everything so that it'll be accurate as of basically that point at which it'll be done. That being said, I want the board to be aware that they won't have Blackbaud financial statements until the July board meeting. There would be no point in providing you Blackbaud statements in June because they would have general ledger amounts from May. They just wouldn't, they're not going to be there. So the statements you'll receive during the June meeting will be QuickBooks. All goes well, which Matt seems very, with his 18 years experience working at Blackbaud. He's going to dedicate, 3 sessions of training over the next 2 weeks to Corey and April to get up to speed on that. And we should be good for financial statements in July. But if Matt comes back with any changes that deviate from that schedule, I will certainly let you know. But he's digging in deep. He's already sent numerous emails today, so he's hit the ground running as our new consultant. So
Yeah.
it's looking promising.
It sounds like that's a huge improvement, and having my office went from FE7 to FE-NXT. We had a week that they call it Play in the Sandbox, which gave my staff a chance to make all kinds of entries and so on that just disappeared. We would go live then with real data. Hopefully you'll be able to do that as well. Yeah, no, and I think there's some things he's realizing we didn't have set up that was supposed to be set up, and kind of realized some frustrations that Corey was having. So I think it's going to be good. And over the next week or so, I think we're gonna see some things change and move, and it's going to be positive. So we're a revived energy, which we needed within this project. So. Before I ask for a motion to accept the financials, Ethan, did you have anything to add?
No, I don't. I just want to say that I'm very excited for the June 1st go live date and for the July board meeting to see how the new financial statements will look. And then I guess, maybe this is, no use dwelling on the past or anything like that, but did they say what the holdup was before Matt got, staffed as the replacement implementation consultant for this?
They did not. I think
Okay.
they shied away from saying anything of that nature. So.
Okay. I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't want to dwell on the past. Just more curiosity out of anything, but I'm happy that it's, really moving now. So yeah, nothing else.
Yeah, I can say that at least, it was my perception and a couple others that this morning that there was some frustration on his end as he was going through the system that was developed and put up for us.
So it sounds like we've crossed an important bridge, and there's a good connection with the consultant. It doesn't sound like the previous consultant was connecting well with it, and it happens. I mean, the hard part is you don't know what you don't know, so you don't know to even complain about it because you think that's how it's supposed to go. And,
Yeah, that's it.
And so, congratulations, and apologize if our frustration was taken out on anybody, but it's just like we're getting everybody's concerned. So, but it sounds like you've taken appropriate action, and thank you. So, any further questions before we accept the financial reports? Is there a motion to accept the financial reports?
I motion to accept the financial reports pending audit.
And a second? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. On to item D, which will start with our solicitor's report.
Good afternoon, Board. It's nice to be here. You have the memorandum, and I'll hit on a number of points. Number one, again, those accounts have been set up. They have been funded, so the disbursement was made to the adults, and then the two minor accounts have been placed in restricted accounts for those minors at Marquette Savings Bank. So those are funded and ready to go. Item number two is ongoing. We'll have greater detail providing the board so that they are aware of the entire situation with regard to item number two as well. Three, I'm probably just going to take off of my list because that's going to be handled through Aaron and his staff. So I think to a large extent my work is done with regard to item number three. I did want to talk a little bit about item number four. I've talked to Aaron and his staff on a number of times with regard to those industrial lots. I have received a couple of responses from Attorney Fessler. The impression that we're kind of getting, and I'm certainly getting, is they have come in and they've cleaned up those industrial lots, and then they have reached out to us to ask about the procedures and the protocol with regard to having properties removed from the blighted status. So I think what they're going to do is that they're cleaning it up, they're addressing all of the issues that resulted in the industrial lots being deemed blighted. They're going to possibly test the waters. They know what our appraisals have been, what our offers were, and I think they might want to test the waters. But I'm going to hold their feet to the fire. I don't want it just to be left out there indefinitely. So I'm pushing them a little bit for an answer here, during this month. We need to know where they're going and why. If they're gonna, if they're gonna rehab the places, or they've got a potential buyer, or they've got a marketing plan, great, tell us about it. If not, hey, we've got offers out to you, and we want to finalize it. So that's kind of where we are there. But it gets hot and then it gets very cold. And I'm going to try to keep dragging their feet to the fire on that. I haven't heard anything further with regard to item number 5. I know that there's a procedure and a protocol that in all likelihood needs to go through before the Erie County can purchase properties. So we've done what we've needed to do. The ball's kind of in their lap. Okay. As short as this memorandum is this week, I'm just going to give the board an idea. It's going to get bigger because there are a number of declaration of takings in the works, been filed as of today. So we will provide you with confirmation of which properties have been filed upon and what the status is and the time frame on those as well. Number 7 is a good situation, I think, certainly for us. We have the deed. We have the deed from the prior property owner, and I have been in contact repeatedly with the bank, First National Bank of Pennsylvania, down in Hermitage. they're going to satisfy their mortgage. Once, and again, we've talked about it before, once these lenders see the condition of the properties and I kind of educate them about potential liability and exposure, they usually kind of see the light, and every once in a while with certain lenders, it takes a little bit of time to get up to the hierarchy level where they can say yes or no. And we certainly got to the right level at First National Bank of down in Pennsylvania, down in Hermitage area. So they've indicated to me that they're going to go ahead and file that satisfaction or a release of lien. The issue is not necessarily of our concern, but I have intended to notify the homeowner that the satisfaction of the mortgage does not relieve her. I'm not her lawyer, but it does not relieve her obligations with regard to the note. Okay. So she's probably going to hear from them. 8 and 9 are all good things again here. A donation of 629 West 10th Street, and then the sales of the vacant lots. Aaron, I'm going to ask for your input. This subdivision in process that you and Kyle and I have been talked about, is that here or next week?
That's here.
That's here. Okay. Do we want to talk about? That's not on here. Do we want to talk about that now? Okay. The corner of 9th and Cherry. Mm-hmm. I know it as A.J. Adams's property. At one time, a beautiful home that if 10 years he would have come to this organization, we could have done something really amazing for the city in that area. It was so bad, it's now demolished. There was a garage. There was also a carriage house in the back. The adjoining property owners are really excited about acquiring pieces of that property. But when you look at the assessment map, you're thinking, this was a huge, beautiful home with a garage and a carriage house. But you actually look at the square footage, it's a tiny, tiny lot that you could hardly put a putting green on. But we've met with, Aaron and Kyle met with the property owners to figure out how they want to subdivide it so that they can acquire some of the properties. So emails have been sent out to 3 surveyors saying, hey, look, here's what we're dealing with. Here's how they want it subdivided. And it would have been ideal if they would have said, hey, because they were individual lots at one time, you don't have to go through a whole subdivision process if you're going back to the dotted lines, how they originally set up. They didn't want to do that. That would be way too easy. So I reached out to a number of surveyors and said, hey, look, here's what we want to do. Can you give us some quotes so that we can educate these people what they're looking at to do the subdivision process to split the properties off and then go through that process, get the subdivision recorded, and then deed it to those property owners. So that's in process. They're excited. I wasn't able to attend that meeting, but from the indications from Aaron and Kyle, these people are very excited about having additional property and to have that opportunity. So
just to confirm, the subdivision, the adjoining landowners on either side are, I guess the plan would be for them to take ownership of the lot. So there wouldn't be any like residue that is going unclaimed or?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Nope.
Essentially, the owner on 9th Street wants, so if, I pulled it up, but I don't want to just for one thing. It looks like a Tetris piece, and so there's a parcel of the property that goes to the full length of the property on 9th Street. She wants that 15 feet. The rest of it is the same length as the property of the parcel off Cherry Street. Has no yard. They essentially weed whack the grass they have. So they really want that side yard. So it's going to make both property owners happy. They both get, the lady on 9th Street gets a driveway, and the property owners on Cherry Street get a yard. So, and really, through the conversations, we kind of tentatively agreed to what the cost is for the survey. We can split that cost. That'll be the sales price for both property owners to coordinate with Gene and his team to create the deeds and combine the parcels.
So I'm excited about the opportunity. They're really excited about to have additional land, and it's right on the corner. So that's really for us. I hate those sayings it's a win-win situation, but it really is. It's right on the corner. Again, I wish that we would have had access to that structure 10 years ago, because that could have really been something. But you guys know the whole history of that whole fight, that detailed fight. We have sales of vacant lots that are continuing. Again, I'm excited about that process. And then finally, number 10, certificate of completion was filed with the successful rehabilitation. And that's what we want. We want those situations. With that, that's the extent of my report. If there's any questions or problems or concerns, I'm all ears.
Okay.
Getting back to the industrial lots, so there was a formal declaration of blight that was filed. I mean, because I've just seen this on the agenda like month after
Yes.
month after month.
Yes.
So there was a formal declaration of blight, and currently there's like an agreement that's pending. Nothing's been signed, though. Correct? It's just kind of exchanging hands.
Correct.
And they've now, I guess, or just recently came back with, I guess, this plan to rehab the site now, as opposed to pursue the agreement.
And even, well, it wasn't even discussed with us to that extent. And Aaron will jump in here. We met with them when it was blighted and had it appraised and provided them with it, and kind of started dragging their feet to the fire.
Yeah.
We met with them there. They saw the situation, because again, they're out of town, so it's out of sight, out of mind. And I kept writing, going, this can't fit your business plan. It can't.
Right.
Guys, what are you doing? So made them come here, see the property, and then we were exchanging and having communications, trying to put together some type of a rehabilitation plan. And then all of a sudden, Aaron advises me, Gene, they're out there cleaning everything up. So it's not like,
Okay.
and so that precipitated, so now I'm reaching out to their attorney going, hey, John, just tell us what's going on. We're going to work with you guys, but and by the way, John, just because you're cleaning up the lot doesn't mean that it's going to change what our offer is.
Yeah.
Our offer, it is what it is. Would it save us some time and expense to do what yeah, but the value is what it is. And then I took the initiative, said, okay, I've got to force the hand, put the deeds together. From them to us, sent them to John. And then John's now writing back going, hey, Gene, if we do these things, how do we get it, now that we've cleaned it up, how do we get it off of the blight? If we convey it to you guys based upon your offers, how much protection do we get for any issues with regard to the land, the contents? So, reading behind the lines, I could tell, okay, they're gonna clean this up, market it, see what might be out there.
Yeah.
If they get a bite, great. If not, they're gonna come back to us. And the one point was that, if we're not going to remove it from blight until you've met all those guidelines, and that's not going to change what our number is.
And so I'm just presuming, the declaration of blight, then there was a time period that they had to correct the blight. And during the pendency of this back and forth, I'm assuming are fines continuing to accrue during that process or not?
The city of Erie never filed any fines against the property for
Okay.
cleaning it up.
It was
So-
just the blight?
Yeah, so we set, the rep from the corporate office flew in, and I believe it was September. We met with him and Attorney Fessler out there at the property. He got out of the car. He frankly said, how can I sign these over to you right now? jokingly, but, that kind of started the conversation. So in September, they were willing to sign deeds over to the authority.
So you just put it on hold.
In response to our pre-condemnation letter, which is part of our standard process. So they of course retained local counsel, and so we went down that road, but sometime between then and Gene putting the deeds together, all of a sudden, they've spent a substantial amount of funding to timber those lots and remove the overgrowth and fix the fencing. So they've seen a change in tone as far as their position on those properties.
And the city's happy about us dragging their feet to the fire. Because and again, my understanding is that the neighborhood knows about it. So if someone's getting chased by the police, they're jumping that fence and going into that acreage. The cops aren't going in there. So it's an issue, and we force them to address it. So it's trying to betterment that area, but we just need to keep. I'm going to keep.
Yeah, if we can get some time frame, just decisions that sounds like need to be made instead of just keep on carrying on and on.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, if you're gonna, the sun's out, it's warm. Now's the time to market things.
Right.
If you guys are going to get a big buyer, let's go now. But ours, that blight designation is not going away.
Yeah, and I guess we should figure out
Yep.
if we want to up our game or just let it kind of ride, or
Right.
whatever the end goal is. It seems like we're helping. It's just a feeling that we feel like we should help faster,
Right.
more. I mean, but that's just our nature, of course,
And
all of us.
And it's one of those situations where, you every time I see John, he goes, oh. he sees me and he knows that I'm coming up to him.
Yeah.
Maybe with a cup of coffee or maybe with a cocktail, I'm coming up to him and I'm going, John, your client's killing us. And I know it's not you, John, but we need to know where you're going and how you're going to get there.
And from a condemnation standpoint, certainly the authority doesn't have the financial means to pay for the just compensation. So I need verification from, the county RDA to move forward, because, certainly we could have filed condemnation, but that would be due payable in 60 days, and without verification, those funds exist, and with known local counsel, they were going to fight us all the way, so it could have been 3 years of legal fees that.
So it's worth walking it forward, but I'm not going to permit it to be slow walked.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, Mr. Sundberg? Thank you. And then we go on to general information. This is Mr. Snippert.
All right, so the board received my executive director's report from May. I'll shy away from going over that with you. I'll hit on a couple things. One, attended the Municipal Law Symposium put on by Knox this year. It was held at the Bayfront Convention Center. As in years past, very informational, on municipal law and different things that touch, us as government entity. They did a mock board meeting, which I always find interesting and something that we recommended. I recommended it to PARA. We do at our annual conference. But a couple of things. If you notice, the one change on the agenda was the point of having citizens' comments before the approval of the agenda. That way, if a citizen mentions or brings something up, that the board would then want to remove an item from an agenda, where, as opposed to before we had approval of the consent agenda and then citizens' comments, the agenda would have already been approved and we would have had to table it or recess that item from the agenda. So, and then we kind of went through the changes to the Sunshine Act, and then executive session was also part of that. So, but that was good. As Mr. Crenshaw had alluded to, the authority on Friday spent the day out at 2321 Cameron Road, which is an Erie Land Bank property. You all should have received the invitation to the open house and press conference for that. But, so we finished up some final touches on the inside, hardware, things like that, painting, cleaning, along with landscaping. And then on Saturday, some of the staff volunteered with the Sisters of St. Joseph for a community cleanup in the Ash 26th Street area of the city of Erie. So we did that for several hours on Saturday. So just a couple points that weren't on the update, so I'll stop there.
All right, very good. And I appreciate receiving these. It really speeds up, and we can go back to the reports and everything. So it's a pain in the ass, but sorry, but I'll say those things. But for personal experience, but it really does help. Appreciate the extra work. All right, on to the rehabilitation part. Ms. Cook, I think that's all you, right?
It's all me. I will try to keep mine equally short since you have all the pertinent information. Main highlights are, as of today, we have one that's currently receiving work and then one property left to go to hit our 110 for our old lead grant. So that's my big excitement for the right now. And then the funds were indeed released for the new lead grant. They were released as scheduled on April 28th. We've already got projects approved for that funding, so moving right along. Our ARPA Healthy Homes money should be considered fully allocated at this time. So I'd had a little buffer of a little money I'd been leaving there, waiting for some projects to draw down. Now that we've had some of that happen, we were able to go back and get the last few who would have been next in queue that were ready to be approved last summer. And we're working with them to recertify and all that. So once those are through, we should be just about through that. Might be able to squeeze an extra project or two in, depending on how project costs shake out, but 153 is where we're sitting right now with projections of how many houses we will have gotten to do something for during the course of that $2.5 million.
Wow. And it's 153, I'm hearing you correctly?
153, yes.
That's pretty good impact.
Yeah, I had originally projected only getting about 135, 140, so this is good. And if I can get a couple more in there, that'd be even better. We still have 517 applicants on the city wait list, though, ones who do not qualify for any other program that we have at the moment. County, we had a big jump in approved projects for the whole home repair program, which also those funds are all but allocated as well. We should see 35, possibly 38 projects through our service area. Corey has its own, but by the time it's all said and done, we should get 38. The other big one for us is that the Erie County in-home child care provider grant did go live. We're super proud of that one because that kind of goes back to some work we've been doing with the authority and in-home child care for years. Corey also will be administering some of this funding, but it is understood that we will be administering most of it since the bulk of the in-home daycares in the county are more in our footprint. I've already got 12 approved applications for this, so we're ready to rock and roll on those. And then we have another 83 waitlist people for the county. Nothing else huge coming up, really. Kendra and I attended the Community Development and Housing Practitioners Conference in State College last week. The big takeaway there is really that it feels that most of these conferences right now, rather than focusing on what we do in housing and community development, it's more like navigating the current funding landscape and changes to programmatic things at the federal level. So there were some decent insights that came out of that, and the first real information out of DC that I'd gotten in a while, so that was pretty useful.
Okay. Yeah, and helpful. I mean, every day is a new day, and what you read yesterday is different than it is tomorrow. So
right, and that was the takeaway of the 2 days was pretty much that. This is what we know today. Check back tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Holly? Hearing none, we are on to item number 2. And you saw in your board packet and maybe some emails, I actually term out on the land bank in the July meeting. I won't be here in July, so I actually will turn out at the next meeting. So we have to select a representative to the land bank. I was voluntold by the previous chair, Mr. Alberstadt, that I would be the representative to the land bank. And it's cool. I mean, it's fine. It's just, it's a little much to, also be the chair and a few other things. So it's a cool gig. It's very and we discovered that after digging down, it does not necessarily have to be one of us. As a board member, it could be another designee. So I would recommend that we think about who that might be, and actually this board appoints that person to the land bank. Unlike the appointments, the mayor's office appoints us to this board. We have the power to appoint members to that land bank then. So if anybody in your travels has an interest, and the type of person generally has a development background of some sort, real estate development background, and those are the kind of people who really kind of click with, what the purpose. I'm sorry, I've got a cold here, so I'm just sneezing here, but it's something important. So we do want to move that ahead. Chris Groner serves as the chair, good leader for the organization then, and that kind of helps also report back to this body, the things that and supplement what Aaron might be telling us as well. That experience would be helpful as well.
Is this something, would you like us to put like a post up on social media on the website that the board was accepting resumes from people of these backgrounds?
I think so, because
Okay.
I'd like to, develop a circle of friends and some resumes so that as people term out and so on, either on this board or the land bank board, we have people who are actively looking for meaningful volunteer work in the areas of community development then. It's always nice to have a few people, in the wings, if we can use a theater reference. They always have somebody ready just in case the opening comes then, so that there's good continuity as well. Because sometimes you have to kind of learn the culture of the organization. You might have technical skills, but learning the culture of the organization, how things work, can take a little time then. So, but yeah, I think in all points built bulletin, so we can get moving on that.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so that is that item, so no action, but we'll get moving on that. And then the other, by virtue of this position as chair, that according to the bylaws of the Erie Neighborhood Growth Partnership, the chair is automatically become a member of the board. I think it's important to have a board representative, maybe not always the chair. So we're taking a look at looking for a volunteer from this board, actually from this body, to serve as the representative to the Erie Neighborhood Growth Partnership.
So I'm already on the board of the ENGP, so I think I could probably fill that role.
That would be super.
I was going to say, and that was going to be my recommendation, that it would just be right for the board to.
I think it really matches your skill sets and your interests. I mean, again, trying to get. Everybody's on the bus, but I'm not sure that we're all in the right seats. So making sure that we all have the right seats to get the best view possible. I'm not sure where I'm going with that analogy, but I think it's good. So if you would be the designee, and then if there's something significant, maybe that relieves Aaron from the burden of having to report out, you could report out on his behalf then, and takes one thing off of his plate, so that he can operate the authority, with having one less burden.
Yeah,
so
that'd be great.
Kind of help balance out the workload.
Yeah.
That'd be slick. Should we vote on that?
Yeah, motion to appoint her as proxy to the ENGP.
Is there a motion to?
So moved.
I'll second that. And congratulations.
Thanks.
We'll take that. Ethan, are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Sorry to be so disorganized. They turned the lights out on us in the lobby, so I'm getting the hints that we need to wrap this up. Okay, on to item number 4, which are the property acquisitions. We heard a little bit about 10th Street earlier. 629
West 10th Street was a donation, kind of a combination of code enforcement and Kyle working with the property owner who has a hoarder situation, if I remember correctly. He doesn't want the property anymore, so Gene and his staff did the deed. We got that taken care of. And then 750 East 13th Street, that was a property, got to commend Gene and his staff there. That was a blighted property that we were seeking condemnation on, that they basically negotiated without condemnation to get us a deed in lieu of condemnation. So, certainly saves us a little bit of time, frustration, and of course, financial, costs. So that's what those two resolutions are.
And then one of those is pending the satisfaction from First National. So I assume these are all the resolutions. I guess we want to ensure that when we're accepting deeds in lieu that we're getting those free and clear. So I assume that's you've already reviewed the title The one issue that's still outstanding with respect to, I can't remember what property it was, I think, is it the 750 East 13th Street that still has the outstanding mortgage?
That is correct. That's correct.
Yeah, so that would be the only condition that we would be waiting on to, I guess, to accept title, is that correct? Okay,
So we're holding off checking daily and following up.
Got
So
it.
before we're not gonna record that deed in lieu until we have the mortgage.
Okay.
File record. Yeah, absolutely.
okay.
All right. So that's our conversation. Is there a motion to accept? We'll take each resolution one at a time? or
We can
both?
do them, you, board can move them together.
All right. Is there a motion to accept the two resolutions as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Resolution passes. And then I think our final business item is the property rehabilitation at 1320 Patterson.
Right, so this is kind of as in with Cameron Road, a property that we took through a condemnation. Of course, Cameron Road transferred over to the land bank because that was the funding entity and who started that process. But 1320 Patterson, again, condemnation, it's in a very stable neighborhood up south of 26th Street. In fairly decent shape. Of course, it is distressed. It was vacant for some time, but it doesn't need a lot. It's really a lot of cosmetic issues, and the outside, the siding's blown off, the porch is rotting and coming down, so that needs to be rebuilt. But overall, as the authority, we could put some money into it and then have another success story that we offer up as a home ownership opportunity. And so I have this in front of the board because I wanted the board's, essential blessing to continue down that road. And so the way we're looking at this one is, of course, we have the acquisition cost at the top, and as Gene talked to in his solicitor report, we had to pay $17,500 in just compensation because there was value. There's value there in its current condition, along with some of the legal fees is high. I was waiting on Mel to get back to me, and she got back to me late Friday after this went out. So that comes down a little bit, so there's some adjustments. But so far, we've spent almost $3,000 in electrical work. We put a new service on the property just to get the power turned on so we could kind of see what we were dealing with. But property clean out, we paid $800. Yard tree removal, we're going to pay $500 to clean it up. But the next three prices are just estimates based on Pat, my project manager's scopes of work on the property. So all in, we're at about $70,000 in rehab. Had our realtor from the land bank go look at it. He said if we do the same as we did on Cameron Road, we're looking at market value again around about $175,000 to $180,000. So he said he could put something together. I said, I just needed kind of a rough ballpark of where we were at. So we estimated right now roughly with a contingency of $120,000 all in would be the authority's investment. That is factoring in prevailing wage and all the other associated legal costs we have to do to do it as an authority project. But the difference here is we wouldn't do this as a GC. We would do this as a authority GCing the project and finding subcontractors to facilitate the work. So saving a little bit of a cost there. But yeah. That's my recommendation is to rehabilitate it through the authority and then again do another successful rehabilitation for home ownership opportunity.
So we have $17,000 into it now, adding another $120,000.
We have roughly, I would say we have roughly about $20,000 into it right now. And then to invest another $100,000 into it. I mean, I can detail that out a little bit better, but a lot of these are projected costs. But essentially, yeah, $120,000 all in with acquisition and rehabilitation.
But still less than the potential sales value, so there could be a margin of, dare we say, profit?
Yeah.
Is that okay to say? Or I don't know if you're allowed to say those things, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, it sounds, so you're looking for permission to?
Yeah, basically, the board, motion to proceed with, GCing the rehabilitation of the project.
To rehab the property then and put it up for sale for a single-family homeowner. Okay, great. Any questions before we take a motion? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the proposal as articulated by Mr. Snifford?
I'll move.
Okay, thank you. And there's a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I think it's all of us, so motion carried. Good work. Looks like an
Thank you.
exciting project. Are there any other points of business to bring to the attention of the board? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you so much. Ethan, thank you so much for joining us.
I know.